Hi, EclipseCon. This is Dr. Kimberly Sogge, and I am a psychologist in Ottawa, Canada. I founded the Ottawa River Psychology Group. I'm a registered clinical health psychologist in Ottawa, Canada, and a certified mindful self-compassion teacher with 16 years of practice in insight and compassion meditation. So I'm very excited to be here today because I hold developers with a great fondness in my heart. I began mindful self-compassion practice when I was at the University of Texas at Austin doing my doctoral residency, and I was invited there to teach mindfulness-based stress reduction as developed by John Kabat-Zinn to the 40,000 students through the behavioral health unit at the University of Texas at Austin. And so what my students taught me there was the same drive and determination that they brought to their academic and professional lives, which created such success externally there. They tended to bring to their mindfulness practice. And the thing is, when we bring this kind of drive and determination, maybe even the kind of threat or working under a timeline or an internal or external threat to the internal world, is it creates all kinds of conditions that are actually in opposition to the contemplative mind project. So what I'd like to do today is to complement the wonderful teaching by Dr. André Vellino on mindfulness with this other invitation to cultivate an attitude of kindness and friendship towards the mind. This uses the third motivational system, the first two being threat and drive, as adaptive survival motivational systems in the human mind. And that third system is connection and kindness. So this presentation is called Motivating the Mind with Heart, Mindful Self-Compassion Training for Developers. So let's begin with an affectionate breathing practice. So sitting up in a posture of nobility, letting your shoulders slide down the back. Maybe the eyes can soft focus or close. Placing a hand, if you like, on the heart or anywhere else on the body that it feels soothing. It's just a reminder that we're bringing not only mindful awareness, but warmth and connection to experience and to the one who's in the experience. So gathering attention around the breath, let's listen for the sound of the bell. So just as in mindfulness practice, we're tuning in to the present moment, to the arriving and passing away of thoughts, sensations, and emotions in awareness. We're listening to the sound of the bell, to the arising and the falling away into silence. Subsides into silence, can you let the attention gather around the sensations of the breath wherever you feel it the most easily in the body? And just like silence envelops sound, can you notice the spaces between the breath, the stillness that envelops the movement of the breath? And if the mind wanders, as most minds will do, the average human attention span is about 11 seconds. So just noticing where the mind goes, and the friendly discipline is inviting the mind back to the anchor and sensation with kindness, as one might approach a small child or a puppy. And noticing perhaps the nourishing quality of the in-breath and the soothing quality of the out-breath. And feeling the warmth of the hand on the body being like the presence of a good friend. So can you incline towards the coming and going of the breath with an attitude of unconditional friendliness, as you might lean towards a really good friend you haven't seen in a long while. So this is just a reminder that we're bringing not only awareness, but loving, connected awareness to ourselves and to this present moment experience. So resting here for a few more breaths. No need to control or to create a particular experience or particular kind of breath. Just noticing how the breath is coming and going even when it's out of awareness. Listening for the sound of the bell as a transition in practice, not an end to this cultivation of awareness, but just a transition into a different kind of practice. As the sound fades and silence emerges. There's really convincing evidence published in the Harvard Business Review demonstrating the causal link between being mindful and being able to engage in divergent thinking for engineers and developers. So what was found in the study, which was done by Dr. Shauna Shapiro and others in California, was that a mindful attitude was the strongest predictor of innovation self-efficacy in engineers. And the most essential components of mindfulness was the attitude with which we pay attention. So whether we have an open, curious, and kind attitude. So this was a study by Reichen, Shapiro, and Gilmartin in 2019. So I mentioned we're cultivating mindful self-compassion in this practice. So why compassion? It seems like such a soft skill, and yet it is actually an eminently practical quality of mind to cultivate. So what we know from the research is professional training tends to decrease our empathy and kindness over time. But the issue is that compassion deficits impair our personal well-being, our productivity, our professionalism, and even the quality of our work. What is mindful self-compassion? So the research of colleague Dr. Kristen Neff, who's a researcher at University of Texas at Austin, and her colleague Dr. Christopher Germer, who is on clinical faculty at Harvard University, shows there's three major components to mindful self-compassion. So the first is mindful awareness, knowing you're in trouble when you're in trouble, knowing you're suffering and experiencing stress in the body when it's happening. The second is common humanity and connection, so understanding that much of our experience is belonging to the common thread of human experience. Many of our thoughts, our emotions, our ways of responding are part of our common heritage to humanity, and many of the billions of other people in the planet are experiencing exactly the same kinds of experiences. And finally, there's self-kindness, so that motivational quality to cultivate our potential to alleviate distress, to meet our most profound basic human needs in order to become the people we were really holding the potential to be in the world. So again, listening for the sound of the bell just as an invitation to awake, alert, warm and connected presence with this moment and with the one who's experiencing this moment. So letting the eyes close or soft focus, inclining towards the breath wherever you feel it most easily in the body. And if you like, placing a hand on the heart, one hand in another, maybe hands on a cheek, maybe hands on the forearms, offering soothing touch, just as a reminder that we're cultivating not only awareness, but this loving, connected awareness with experience and the experiencer. So gathering your attention for a few breaths just around the sensation of breath. So if it feels right to you, you can just rest here in the breath with this inclination of friendliness towards the breath. And if it feels right to you, then adding a layer to this practice of imagery of a beloved being with whom you have an easy and uncomplicated relationship. So I'll bring to mind my beloved dog, Bigo, but maybe you have a beloved pet or a being with whom you have an easy, uncomplicated relationship. So let that image form in your mind's eye right now. Notice what happens in the body just in bringing this image into awareness. See if you can flesh out the image in as much sensory detail as possible, perhaps bringing to mind how it feels to be in the presence of this good friend or beloved being. Maybe hearing the sound of their voice. And taking a few moments just to soak in the presence of this beloved being. Knowing the felt sense of being in a friendly, connected presence. We're activating this compassion and connection motivational system within the 3 motivational systems of the body. And you can completely just rest here with this bringing to mind of presence, if that feels right. And if you like, the next layer is bringing to mind loving phrases. So letting these phrases roll through the mind, or letting my voice roll through the background of your mind. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be peaceful. May you live with ease. So letting yourself feel the motivational quality, the energy of your wish for this friend, this beloved being, for their happiness, for their health, for their peacefulness, for their life of ease. And if there's other phrases that work better for you, just letting yourself wish these things, really feeling your intention behind them. And now we'll add another layer. Can you envision yourself next to this beloved being? And if it's hard for you to bask in the radiance of these wishes that you're sharing with this beloved being, that's okay. That's about the same as 86% of the general population find it much more difficult to offer wishes to themselves for kindness, for well-being, than they would find it to offer these same wishes to another. So just slipping in under this defense and letting yourself hang out with this beloved being for a while. Seeing where you want to sit in relation to them, perhaps. And then begin offering these wishes, these kind intentions to both of you. May we be happy. May we be healthy. May we be peaceful. May we live with ease. Letting these phrases roll through the mind. If you need to, refreshing the image of you and this good friend or beloved being in your mind's eye. And if your mind wanders, just maybe taking a few deep breaths, coming back into the body, and then returning to the phrases. And now the invitation is just to let the image of the friend dissolve. And can you offer these wishes in the same kind of friendliness to yourself? And if it's too difficult for your present moment self, maybe bring to mind a younger version of yourself. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be peaceful. May I live with ease. So this is not a positive affirmation. This is just a wish that if the conditions could be possible, that you may have what you need for happiness, for health, for peacefulness, and for ease. And even if this is a bit uncomfortable, can you stay with it within your zone of tolerance just for a few more cycles of breath? bringing an attitude of friendliness and curiosity. What might happen here? And paying close attention. And then letting go of the phrases and maybe returning to just resting in your own good heart. Listening to the silence around the sound. Tuning in perhaps to the spaciousness around each breath. For you in awakening, cultivating compassion in the connection and caring system in your body. These are qualities of mind that can be trained. Some of the good research you can find in the website of Dr. Kristen Neff. I also have created a slideshow that has a lot of the resources from some of my favorite research, including the Compassionate Mind Foundation, the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion, the Stanford Center for Compassion, the University of Wisconsin Center for Healthy Minds, and others. If you'd like to reach out to me, I work at Ottawa River Psychology Group in Ottawa, Canada. My website is drsogge, DRSOGGE.com, or look me up on social media. Okay, sounds like we're live according to Zoom. Well, I see there were some questions posed here. There was a question about, can you explain the background and the use of the bell? And I might actually invite André to comment on this too, but traditionally the bell is sounded to gather the community, to invite everyone to come into the present moment, to touch this quality of awakened mind. And the term that's often used is inviting the bell. So I remember once I had heard the Zen teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, talk about a dream that he'd had. And if you don't know Thich Nhat Hanh, he was a friend of Martin Luther King. He was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. He has been known as an advocate for peace, a profound teacher for thousands of people around the world. And yet he'd had this dream, which he explained as kind of a direction for his life. And it was that he was in an orchestra and everyone had very complex instruments to play in the orchestra. But he had a small bell, and his job was just to ring this small bell in the world. And he felt completely at peace with that, just doing his best to understand this action of ringing the bell. And I think this is a lovely metaphor for what the bell is for awakening of the heart mind. That his life work, as I understand it, has been to invite others into awakening these qualities of mind. And so that's how I understand the bell, but maybe André might have a comment on that. André is a teacher who's been given the lamp transmission as a teacher in the lineage of Thich Nhat Hanh, so he probably has more insight than me in this.
So everything you said, Kim, was perfectly right. I love Thich Nhat Hanh's dream. Also, I would add that in and of itself, the practice of inviting the bell on the one hand and listening to the bell on the other are themselves practices in mindfulness. So the way that Thich Nhat Hanh teaches listening to the bell is that when you hear, first of all, the bell being invited, there's a sort of pre-invitation that goes like this, that says, in a second, the bell is going to invite you to come back to the present moment. So pay attention. It's a sort of pre-invitation. And then the bell itself, the invitation of the bell itself is one in breath, one out breath. So 3 times. And then the second time, again, 3 times, in breath, out breath. So it's like it's a reminder to come back to the present moment, to be attentive to yourself, to harmonize mind and body. It's a very profound practice that you can use in other kinds of contexts as well, like listening to a church bell, or even being honked at in a car. Somebody honks at you, and then you can, instead of kind of like getting involved in road rage, go back to breathing in, breathing out, and return to the peace of the present moment. So it's all kinds of really practical uses as well. There are other questions. We only have a couple of minutes, so perhaps we should go to those.
Lovely. There's a question of how often would a person do a meditation like this? I guess I'll flip it. Like, when would you not do this? You know, this is actually, I find these practices, as soft as the mind might see them, they're incredibly powerful, because they're tapping into this system in the body, and every human body, that actually regulates our threat and drive systems. So you can see how easily we get tense or cut off from the best part of ourselves, or maybe push ourselves too hard. But this is a practice that literally, physically in the body, regulates those systems, and allows us to maybe access our own wisdom, access perhaps what a more appropriate response might be to a situation. So as I had mentioned in the presentation, the attitude of kindness and warmth in the practice of mindful awareness, it's not different from mindfulness, but it's an element of the mindful awareness practice that really allows us to, I think, contact and cultivate these qualities of wakefulness, of equanimity, of open-heartedness towards what's arising in our experience. And as I mentioned several times, towards the one who's in the experience too, because many of us have conditioning where maybe we ignore that being, or maybe don't respond to the self in a way that brings forward the best qualities. So
Kim,
go ahead.
You have 30 seconds to answer Thabang's question.
Oh.
What are some of the practical ways to cultivate compassion at work, especially in these days working remotely?
Wow, 30 seconds. Okay. Well, bring to mind that loving awareness, whether it's through an image of a beloved person, or whatever experience gives you contact to that. And can you walk around in that all day? Can you sit at the computer embodying that presence? It doesn't have to be a formal practice. A few seconds for you, André?
I'd say bring them to mind actively, like try to remember the past as, yeah, I was with this person, I really enjoyed coding with this friend, or interacting. And I mean, this is what we've got as our memories. We can't interact quite as much. So re-enlivening these joyful memories of being with people we love and enjoy being with.
Beautiful. Yes, these are all here right now, all available to you. These practices are just building bridges to them.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Have a wonderful day.